Okay, so um, my camera's still not working, but that's okay. Um, we will just go ahead and continue on. We'll look at these different slides from chapter 12, which is about early and middle adulthood, technically what we could call midlife. Let's see. So midlife typically runs from your 40s to about 50s. However, many people in their 60s and 70s might consider themselves middle-aged, which is good that they feel that way, but likely is not really the middle of their life. Their 60s and 70s, they're starting to get towards the end of their life. Do people, become happier, more satisfied with their life as it goes on? I think a general answer to that would be yes. However, of course, there's individual differences. Not everybody will become happier throughout their life. And we would really want to hold that to, as long as there's not too many life stressors or there's not too many traumatic events. And in fact, most healthcare professionals believe that people can handle about 3 or 4 major life events happening, such as divorce, death of someone close in the family, job loss, major health diagnoses. So, too many traumatic events can certainly lead to somebody to not be the most happiest in their life. But for the most part, research indicates that most people are at their happiest point in their early 60s. So that gives us hope. It should give you all hope that you will eventually be happy. What to expect in middle age, people usually become more reliable. You can depend on them to do certain things and handle certain responsibilities. Agreeable, they become more flexible and somewhat easier to work with. Really, we see personality not change too much over the years. Let's see, kids are one thing. You see a major personality shift or change usually in like the 20s, and then after that personality tends to solidify. By the time somebody's in their 40s, 50s, really their personality is not going to change very much. um, People tend to become more generative. We'll see a little bit more about this concept of generativity. And people are more mature, they're more happy. At this point, they're kind of set in their life. They're probably not raising little kids anymore. Their kids are getting older. They're perhaps, if they're a little bit older, they might be retiring at this point. So life just isn't as stressful when you compare it to a young adult. This is just a little bit about how self-critical people are. You can see here that women are fairly, you know, uh, fairly critical. Men, it really changes. Like they're really critical of themselves when they're very young, and then they become not so critical of themselves at an older age. We could attribute this to largely, young men feel an enormous amount of pressure to succeed, to be successful, to provide for a family, to get a job, to buy a home, to just all of those things that society kind of places on men. Women, you may not like me saying this, but for the most part, women, you know, we sometimes we get a pass, right? Um, Women, although you may disagree with the statement, you know, many people say, well, she could always marry somebody who has money, or she can marry somebody who could take care of her. And I think that that underlying feeling doesn't place as much stress on women. As I'm saying this, I can see many girls' eyes rolling and getting frustrated. And I understand that. And, you know, this data could be a little bit old and outdated, right? Can this change? For sure. Are there individual differences? Absolutely. Are there women who feel an enormous amount of pressure to succeed? Of course. Are there men who do not feel pressure to succeed? Of course. This is just looking at a very broad generalization of the United States. To me, this also obviously needs to be researched a little bit more, but I feel like this is why we have this group, right? Younger men committing so many mass murders and things like that, um, that pressure, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but I feel like there's a lot of young men that are just really reeling with emotions and stress and not knowing how to appropriately express that and deal with that. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on that one. This is the idea of who's going to donate money and who's going to keep money. Younger people don't donate too much, they keep a lot, right? Middle-aged people, it's kind of even, right? But at least it tips at this end. They're probably going to donate quite a bit and keep. Older people, they really start donating more, you know, and again, this doesn't have to be millions of dollars. This could be, you know, a dollar here, a dollar there. Older people just start to kind of give away their money, their possessions, and things like that, just because they, you know, they're more generative. They feel like giving back. They want to help people, and so on. So, what are we stressed out about throughout our life, right? When we're young, we're worried about not being cool. We're worried about not being accepted. We certainly don't want to be pushed outside of the social circle. In college, we worry about doing good. You know, we want to do good in school. We want to save the whales. We want to save the turtles. We want to you know, fight all these social justice issues and join PETA and the Peace Corps. So definitely kind of an idea about having, you know, pro-social values. And during adulthood, you know, we're just trying to manage. We're trying to get by with the least amount of stress that we can. We want to handle difficult life events that come at us, things like death of parents, you know, kids growing up and moving out, and job losses, and cancer diagnoses, and things along those lines. So here's what we were talking about, or what I was mentioning about generativity. So generativity, this is actually Erickson's or Erickson's task for adults. He says that people need to feel generative, or they run the risk of suffering from stagnation. If you look back over the Erickson psychosocial tasks, this is the task for adulthood: generativity versus stagnation. Generativity is giving back to the next generation. This is enriching the lives of younger people, helping out other people, and it's being the little league baseball coach, it's being the PTA mom, it's being the Sunday school or catechism teacher. It's this is why you see people in their midlife go and coach soccer, coach basketball, or whatever it may be. That's being generative. Erickson says if you don't do this, then you run the risk of stagnation, like stagnant water that does not move, it's stuck. He says that if you're generative, then you feel like your life has purpose. You feel like your life is more fulfilling. If you're not generative, he says that you'll feel like your life has no purpose and that you feel stuck. We have obviously exceptionally generative people in our world. They usually become famous, like Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, various people who go on and go above and beyond in helping out the world and the people around them. We do tend to see that African Americans are usually above average in generativity. Okay, they're really helping out their fellow community and their their younger people in their lives. This is talking about intelligence for our middle-aged adults or so on. We have two types of intelligence. One of them is what we call crystallized, and the other is fluid intelligence. Crystallized, you can think of a crystal or a rock. It's hard, it's set in stone. And it takes a long time to form, and it's going to take a long time for it to go away. So this is your accumulated knowledge, or what we call your general knowledge fund. This is knowledge of events, knowledge of history, vocabulary. Okay, this type of intelligence actually tends to increase throughout age. You can see into the 60s, people's vocabularies are still increasing and crystallized intelligence is still increasing. Then later in your life, late 70s, 80s, you might start to see a loss of this crystallized intelligence. Fluid intelligence is it's different in that it's fluid like water. It's ever changing. It flows. It's different. Okay, it's not set. It's not the same every time. And this is your logic, your abstract thinking, your ability to think quickly and in new situations. Okay, this is linked to your nervous system, your brain, your spinal cord, how quickly you can adapt in new scenarios. This tends to decrease in early adult life. Okay, the best way to show this or give you an example of this is your parents trying to work a computer, a new phone, or I don't know, Netflix or something like that. Okay, so any new computer technology, something along those lines, requires fluid intelligence.